Hello, and welcome to the Building Business Podcast, powered by the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. We are here recording in the Charleston Media Solutions Studios, who are, of course, huge supporters of the Chamber. Thank you. And a huge shout out, I love saying this, Amanda, a huge shout out to our podcast sponsor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Viking Mergers and Acquisitions. They are our first podcast sponsor. They navigate the complexities of selling a business in our area. So if you are looking for that type of business, please reach out to Viking Mergers and Acquisitions, a chamber member and, as mentioned, a sponsor of our wonderful Building Business Podcast. My name is Kathy Herman, and I am a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. I am also the current chair of the Rise Women in Business Committee. And in my real job, I am the marketing director for the Mount Pleasant Town Center. So thank you so much for joining us today. I have my second time co-hosting, right? Is it second?
Maybe second.
Well,
Wow.
we already did one.
We've done a few together.
Oh, okay. So then
maybe,
obviously
maybe
I can't
this
count.
Is our second.
Okay. No, maybe it's more than second. But anyway, I'm so excited today because I have a new exciting co-host with me, Amanda Bunting-Coman, and she is the newly appointed marketing and communications guru for the Chamber.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Welcome, Amanda.
Yes,
I know
thank
it's
you.
so exciting, Rob.
Happy
It's
to
so
be
exciting
here
to have
in
you.
a more official capacity.
We've worked together a lot.
Yes.
A lot of hard work and a lot of great projects worked on.
Listen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
It's quite all right. No, shh, nobody knows who's here yet. Anyway, Amanda, I'm really excited to have you. And, of course, we have an amazing, amazing guest for us today. Unless you've been living under a rock, you are going to know who he is. He has been Storm Team 2's chief meteorologist since September of 1987. I mean, want to talk about legacy. I wanted some notable achievements that I looked up on. This is great. In 2006, Governor Mark Sanford awarded him the Order of the Palmetto.
That's true.
I need to talk about that. If you don't know what that is, it's the highest award given to a citizen in the state of South Carolina. And in 2017, he was inducted into the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Silver Circle Society.
Wow.
An award that honors a lifetime of dedication to the television industry. Again, I mean, just amazing.
Wow. My head is blowing up right now.
So if you listen to the weather in this town, which you need to do every single day, as we know, because we do not know what's going to happen. So excited. You're going to want to listen and welcome Rob Fowler.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Amanda.
Welcome.
Nice to be here.
Oh, so excited to have you. I'm also I'm like one of those weather enthusiasts. Fetish. I can't stop watching the weather.
You know, it's something that affects all of us. I mean, if you can watch the news, you can listen to the sports, but weather is something that everybody takes note of because it does impact how we dress and how we act and how we react, and love the weather here.
Oh, absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
affects events in Charleston every day.
Yes, it does, and that gets to be a little dicey at times because people are relying on that forecast, and while we've come a long way, and we'll talk about that in weather forecasting, we're not perfect, never will be, but the bottom line is we're getting better each and every time that we kind of put computer models out there and update them, so we're getting better at forecasting those weather forecasts for specific events like weddings and in this case, while we're recording this, we're looking at the air show going on and those kinds of things.
Yep. I was going to bring that up because going over the bridge today, I saw the Blue Angels.
Yeah.
Over.
You saw practice?
I did.
Oh, man.
They flew over twice.
And that is so
Over
cool.
the bridge, and I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, what are they going to do?
Yeah, you know, I know
Saturday.
they know better than I in terms of what they can handle in terms of weather. But Saturday that they're supposed to have the big air show, which I think is so amazing that they can do this. Obviously we've got rain in the area and maybe even thunderstorms, so they'll
Which
have
is
to.
very much needed, though. By the way.
Yes, and that's why that's part of the job that a lot of people don't really kind of understand is that we're not rooting on the dry weather for all of those outdoor activities. We'd like to see it, but at the same time, we know the farmers in a drought situation we're in now, severe to extreme, they need water, they need rain, and so a lot of times, yes, there's lots of outdoor activities, but we're just trying to balance being positive about the rain and hopefully getting enough time where it's dry and we can get these outdoor activities in.
Well, this is actually going to air after, so we should all bet. Is it going to happen or not? And we can look back at
Well,
it.
that's what we need, the Monday morning quarterback.
I'm saying it's going to happen. They're going to get it in.
Okay, I think I'm leaning that way too, because I think they may have to alter the schedule a little bit, maybe their full performance, but based on the radar that I'm looking at now, the forecast radar, I think there's going to be a little window.
I'm hopeful. I got my fingers crossed.
All right,
look at that, 3 for 3. All right, before we start talking more about the things I know Amanda and I are so interested in, let our listeners know a little bit more about you. I said you've been doing the Lowcountry weather for over 35 years. It had to start somewhere,
yes.
Rob. So where did that start?
Well, it probably started, and this seems like such a corny story, but it's true. I was born in New Orleans in 1960, and when I was 5 years old, 1965, New Orleans had a hurricane called Hurricane Betsy. I know we all remember Katrina, but Betsy was a big hurricane, and as a 5-year-old child, it was my first hurricane going through, and we actually went to my grandparents' house, excuse me, and spent the night there. My grandparents' house didn't flood as much. This is my dad's mom and dad. And so they gave me a job that night that Betsy was coming through, and that was to put dry towels under the front door to try to keep the water from coming in. And I remember that as my first experience with a hurricane, and from that point on, I was smitten with weather, especially hurricanes and tropical weather. So I started learning more, started reading more, then eventually got older and said, what am I going to do? And I like to talk, and I like to talk about weather. So I grew up in Atlanta then. That's where after I moved from Atlanta, and just continued my studies in weather. Thought I was going to the University of Georgia, and go Dogs, and still a big Georgia fan. But February, my senior year in high school, I went and visited a school called Georgia Southern in Statesboro, Georgia, and I absolutely fell in love.
Oh, so you went to the rival school.
I went to a rival school. At that time, there were only 6,000 students, and in the university in Georgia, that state, Georgia, and Georgia Tech kind of rules. So this was a fairly new school, but I just fell in love with it. It was what I needed, smaller, and continued my studies there, and then graduated, and I got a job in Savannah, started doing weather in Savannah in 1982, and worked there for about 3.5 years. And then I just totally out of the blue got a call from a consultant saying, hey, Rob, a station has looked at your work, and they like it, and they'd like to fly you up and see if you're interested in a meteorologist job, but we can't tell you where it is.
Oh.
So there's some intrigue to that. So, and part of it was I don't think that position was open yet. So they
were trying to fill it before
they didn't want to let the cat out of the
Got
bag.
it. Okay.
And so they said, but you're going to get a call next week. So the following week, I was getting ready for the midday show at WTOC TV in Savannah. Phone rang. On the other end was a guy named Tom McCary from WBAY in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He said, Rob, and this is kind of like Kathy, we talked off air about New York and the weather and all that. And he said, listen, it's cold up here, but we like your work. We'd like to fly you up. So I flew up to Green Bay. It was in September. I left Savannah. It was 80. I got to Green Bay, and it was like 35. I mean, even in September, it was cold. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm a Southern boy. What is this? So, but I liked the people. I liked the station. And so I said, okay. And I came up there, and I knew God sent me up there for a reason, because shortly after I got there, I saw this cute young lady in the hallway carrying some videotapes. This is back in the day when we had all those big old 3/4-inch videotapes. And she was kind of struggling, and I offered to help her in the hallway, and we got to be friends, and I asked her out for lunch, and she went to lunch, and in December, we'll be married 39 years. So turned out to be my wife. And then after 2 years up in Green Bay, I really wanted to get back to the South. And so I saw a job offer for the chief meteorologist at Channel 2 here in Charleston. And so I answered the ad and sent my tape, and they called me and flew me down. They put me up at the Lodge Alley Inn on East Bay Street. And I remember walking out the next morning, and I called Cara, and I said, if they offer me this job, I'm going to take it. And they offered, I took it, went back home, proposed to her, because we'd already been talking about that. And then eventually we got married, and I was already here from September to December. We got married in December, or back in Green Bay. And the rest is history. And I came in 87. 2 years after that, we know what happened, Hurricane Hugo. And so that was a benchmark for me professionally and personally. And, Amanda, we talked about this. You've been here for a while, and there was just something about Hugo. It was I couldn't leave after that. It was like I was tied to this community. I wanted to be here, wanted to see that through. So 2 years becomes 4 years, 4 becomes 6, 6 becomes 10. The kids are born. They make friends. We make friends. And in September of next year, 27, I'll celebrate 40 years at Channel 2.
Wow.
So,
and now you have how many grandkids?
Have 5 grandkids, 3 kids, 5 grandkids. My 2 oldest kids live here. They're the ones with the 5. My son has 3, and my daughter has 2. And then my youngest, he is in D.C. He's an attorney, and he's married. But he said, Mom and Dad, give us some time. I said, absolutely. We got 5. You take your time. They just got married in May of last year.
That's
yes.
great news all around then.
So that's kind of how it all started.
So how did your bride take from moving from Wisconsin to Charleston?
It's interesting because she'd never been to Charleston. So
as I hadn't either when I first came down.
Is she from Wisconsin?
She's Green Bay, born and raised. And so, this was a total shock to her. And so she came down in October of 1987. So I got here in September. She came down in October. That's the first time she's ever been here to see the place that she would be living. And she loved it. And now she's the first one. When it gets 40 here, she's like, oh, my God, I'm so
freezing.
cold.
Oh, she's certainly gotten rid of that.
And I'm like, how did you grow up in 40 below? She goes, I've been here almost 40 years.
They
so
acclimated real quick.
Your blood thins out.
My parents were from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay, are they
too.
Packers fans?
Of
yes,
course.
you
I'm
have
a
to
Packers
be.
fan.
Cheeseheads all
Give
the
me
way.
5. All right,
There
yes.
we go, my
Cheeseheads
friend.
all the way.
All the way.
And I didn't know that. I thought that you grew up in Wisconsin, so I didn't know that. But I
A lot
learned
of people,
something today.
yeah, a lot of people think that I'm a big Packers fan. I'm a very big fan of Wisconsin. I love the 2 years there that I had there. I met some great
changed
people.
Your life. I mean,
I met my
everything.
wife there, but her family is so wonderful. I'll tell you a story, and so I went up there not knowing anybody. Had never been there before. It was cold. I'm not going to lie. I was looking at myself in the mirror a few times, saying, "What did I just do? Why did I come up here?" And when I started dating Cara, her mom invited me over for every single family function. So if there were birthday parties, and Cara has a big family, so there might be 100 people, and they're all family at this birthday party. But every single day, if I could come over for dinner or lunch, they had me. So there would be times where Cara would be working. I would be off because I work some weekends up there on Monday and Tuesday. Her mom would say, hey, I fixed lunch, come on over. So we'd call Cara, and Cara would say, what you doing? I said, I'm here with your mom. So they made me feel like family. So that really made those 2 years so much better. But I knew that in the end, I wanted to be a chief meteorologist, and I wanted to get back to the South. And then, fortunately, we were blessed with Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I'm sure, again, over the almost 40 years, how has the weather in our region changed?
It's interesting because I think the perception is that the weather has changed a lot, but I think
is it us?
it's. I think there's a lot, Kathy, that goes into this, and the population. Let's just say that. Okay, there used to be the woods that have now been replaced by a shopping center. And now all of a sudden where areas that didn't flood before now are flooding because you don't have that ability to soak up the water. You've got asphalt and the water's just running off. So I think the perception maybe there's more bigger storms, maybe there's bigger hurricanes, but I think a lot of it is the fact that there's just more population, more people in harm's way.
I was going to say environment, right?
Yeah, but having said that, I mean, I do believe that the Earth is getting warmer, and the ramifications are sea level rise, which we know that when, we get a high tide about 7 feet, we have water in some of our roadways. So that's inherently potentially could be a problem. And there's also a perception maybe, more tornadoes, more this, more that. I think that's just the age that we're in where everybody is videoing everything. Mm-hmm. So there used to be a tornado that moved across Farmer Joe's field in Iowa. He would be the only one to see it.
Saw it, right.
Then he videos it, sends it to the Weather Channel, and now everybody gets to see it. Right. So, but no, I think there's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration. For instance, shadow moss. I don't remember that neighborhood over west of the Ashley on 61 ever flooding as much as it does now.
No, it didn't. I used to live there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And Church Creek, there's a place called Church Creek, is now literally part of the National Weather Service verbiage when they say, hey, we're monitoring Church Creek. I'd never heard of it before, but then we had the floods of 2015, and all of a sudden Church Creek became a benchmark in terms of, is it going to flood?
And what about I love social media. I love everyone trying to be their own
Rob is
weatherman.
great on social media.
I know
Thanks.
he's fabulous. I mean, I
Thanks.
follow you, and some of your colleagues as well on other stations.
Yes.
I love to get, if it's something big coming, I need 3 people's opinions. But I love the people who think that they are weathermen or meteorologists, and people listen to them, and it cracks me up.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be dangerous sometimes, though, don't you think?
That's a great question, a great comment too. We try to have people, trust a source. If there's somebody you trust, certainly, kind of ride that horse as long as you can. I get it. The social meteorologist, as we call them, they're trying to get some clicks and those kinds of things. And there are some that really are legitimate. They may not be a degreed meteorologist, but they really have an interest in the weather. Mm-hmm. But having said that, there's some things we got to watch out for, and the fact that sometimes there's a computer model run that's 10 days out saying this X hurricane is going to hit Charleston in 10 days. Sometimes we have trouble forecasting 10 minutes from now. So, if you're out 10 days, the chances of things changing are great. And then people share that, and then it becomes the gospel. And I believe that social media is one of the best things invented and one of the worst things.
I'm 100% with you.
It's a great way to get information out, but unfortunately, it's a great way to get misinformation out. So what we have to do, and people always say, Rob, you've been doing this a long time. It's probably easier for you. I'm saying, no, it's actually harder, because now we're weeding through that misinformation. We've got to weed through that first to get the real story. And some people won't listen. They've already made up their mind that storm is going to hit us. But I still think it's a great way to get information out. And I just encourage your listeners and viewers to this podcast just to find a source that you trust and just, hang your hat on that.
No, I agree. And the other thing I always laugh about is, I don't know if I should admit this, but I'm going to anyway. I watch local news.
Thank you.
Because you guys are here, right? So my spouse watches, the dreaded Weather Channel. And so, like, if there's something coming this way, he's watching one and I'm watching another, and we argue constantly because he's like, well, they're the Weather Channel. They know. I go, no. They're not here. I know you guys are looking at the same thing, but could you just explain to me and anyone listening who's interested in the weather, like, how can forecasts be so different? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to ask you? No,
absolutely. Listen, the Weather Channel does a wonderful job, but I'll give you a great example. Many times, if there's a storm coming, you may hear the Weather Channel or other networks say, hey, this storm is going to impact the Carolinas. Well, the Carolinas is a pretty big, geographical region. Mm-hmm. Is that Cape Hatteras? Is it Charleston? Is it Myrtle Beach? Is it so? When you just kind of broad brush that, it creates some confusion. Then it's my job to take that information and say, no, this is the area most likely to be impacted. This part of the coast, this part of South Carolina, North Carolina, whatever it might be. So it's our job because we're local. And also, when you live somewhere, you start to learn those little idiosyncrasies, those little micro scale that someone who may just be reading a map from another place, you can read the map, but you got to really live it. You got to be there. And we have a lot of young reporters, and they will come into the weather office, what can I expect? Is this going to hit us? What's going to happen? And we kind of start talking it through about, well, this is very similar to this storm a few weeks ago that made that turn. I think the same pattern's in play, so we're going to see a turn, and it's not really going to impact us. So there's a lot that we have to do on the local level to really bring it down to the local level, because that's what I care about.
Mm-hmm. Right. The people are different here than Myrtle Beach, than Cape Hatteras.
And the impacts are going to be different wherever you are. And that's one thing that we're trying to get away from is saying, well, it's just a tropical storm. We'll be okay. It's just a Category 1. We've survived those before. But each storm has its own identity. So we're trying to really get away from it's just this and say, what are the impacts going to be for me? What can I expect here in the Charleston, South Carolina area? Hey, Myrtle Beach, Savannah, those areas we'll mention as well. But we're really kind of focused in on what the impacts will be for us right here.
Well, yeah,
I think
ahead,
one thing that people tend to forget about Charleston, the way it's unique, is there's so many bridges.
Yes.
And the weather affects all the bridges, whether it's hot, wet, or cold, or even
icy.
Snow.
Yeah.
We had snow 2 years in a row for
that's
the first time.
First time since 88, 89.
Yes, I listened to you when you said that, and I shared that with a lot of people, and they're like, Wow.
Yeah, I tell the school kids, because they always want to know about snow. I said, listen, you guys, you're lucky. You've had snow back-to-back years. Most of these other kids that have come before you didn't see
I've never
snow.
heard someone lucky to have snow.
I know,
but,
but that's what they want. That's what they want.
I know they want to play in it.
But no, it's a good discussion to have. That just find somebody that is going to give you local information. But we know that everybody has relatives that might live somewhere else. So we try to give, more of a national forecast sometimes, but it's really our job to kind of bring it down to this level.
And I know Amanda's probably seen this too, but I've laughed. I mean, I work at Town Center, and I live in Dunes West, which is, 7 miles apart, not even. I've had events at Town Center where the sun is out, it's beautiful, and no one comes because it's pouring and thundering at my house.
Yes.
That's fine. I mean, how does that I'm fascinated on how that, and it happens a lot in Mount Pleasant.
And I think Rob needs to explain, you shared this at some of the Chamber Conference lunches before. When you say it's 90% chance of rain, what does that mean?
Yes. Okay, so you got two questions there.
Okay, so obviously the weather can change, mile to mile. I mean, even the sun could be out at your house and the cloud that's producing the rain is down the street, but the rain is not coming straight horizontal. It's being blown your way. So it may be raining on you when the sun's directly overhead. But that can happen. And yes, we have so much water. Water has a major impact on what kind of weather we may see, because the water can also change the winds. You might have an easterly wind coming in from the ocean that's bringing a storm inland, but 5-10 miles away from the coast, it's nice and sunny. So the sea breeze has a lot to do. And then we have what we call outflow boundaries. So storms kind of breathe, and as they breathe, they kind of throw some wind out ahead of them. And that creates other areas where you might have a little lift in the air, and maybe a little line of thunderstorms forms right there where the air is coming up, that outflow boundary. And forecasting and pinpointing where those are going to be is very, very, very difficult. So probability of precipitation, POP, it's abbreviation.
Okay.
It's a equation. It's my confidence that it's going to rain times the aerial area that we think it's going to rain in. That equals pop. So let's say I'm 50% confident we're going to see rain over 50% of the area. 0.5 times 0.5 is 0.25. That's 25%. That's a 25% probability of precipitation. All right, so
there's no way that the average person knows that.
No,
because
they
I
don't.
look at it,
Exactly.
and I look at it, and I'm like 50%. There's a 50% chance it's going to rain in all of Mount Pleasant today.
So, but what you guys are talking about is a perfect example that it may be raining at your house and not at Town Center. Well, people don't stay in one place all day long. So where we take the observations, we launch the weather balloons, is from the National Weather Service office in North Charleston near the airport. So that's really our main focal point for the individual pop. But nobody lives there. So what we have to do then is we have to extrapolate and say, okay, out of the whole area, the probability that's going to rain in our area, in the Charleston area, is roughly 50% or 40% or 30%. So we have to kind of take some liberties, if you will, with that forecast equation, and just know that people aren't staying in one place. They're not sitting at the airport where we would say there's a 90% chance of rain at the airport, but there may be a 30% chance of rain at the coast, at the beach. How many times have you been to the beach where it's nice and sunny and you look to the west and you got those dark clouds,
Amanda, did you understand that? Like, so when you look at the weather, do you go, wait a minute, let me calculate this in my head?
Every time I look at the weather now, ever since he said that the first time I heard it a couple of years ago, I react differently. It
is hard, and because some people say
for me to explain it, I can't really explain it that well.
Because
there's I get you to do it.
There's different things, Is it raining 50% of the time? Is it raining 50% of the area? So you've got to kind of combine those two and just say, okay, we're going to get rain for a period of time, and it's probably going to rain for 1 out of every 2 people are going to see rain.
You know what I've been obsessed with now, because I still can't fathom all of this. The radar on the weather apps, because I can literally see, and I'm sure it's not 100,000% correct, but if I'm planning an event and it is supposed to be in an hour or 2 hours, you look at that radar and you can push a little button and see when those clouds are literally coming over Mount Pleasant Town Center, and I can make a decision
Yes.
of whether or not I think it's really going to hit. I mean, so like you said about love and hate of technology, right? To me, as a business owner or business working in a business, that has been a huge feat for me technically with the weather forecasting.
You know what? I've been doing this a long time, and I am amazed at the accuracy of the forecast and the timing from an hour-to-hour situation, minute by minute. I know there's an old joke that we hear quite often is, I wish I had a job where I could be right half the time and still get paid.
I was going to say that at the end, so it's okay.
No, that's okay. But and I take it with a grain of salt. But the bottom line is, I've been doing this a while, and I've seen the progression of the technology. And the computers are bigger, faster, stronger. They're crunching more numbers. That you could sit here and say, in 10 minutes, this storm's going to reach us, and it's going to produce this amount of rain, and by 1:30 it's going to be gone, or 2 o'clock it's going to be gone. And that's even, I know we're taping this, but this morning was a great example. I mean, we had rain in the morning. We thought the rain would be out of here by 9 or 10. It has been. Now it's been dry, and we await the next arrival of rain, as we get closer to this weekend coming up. But I'm amazed, and I know a lot of people focus on the wrong forecast, and believe me, we're not perfect. But there are a lot more forecasts that are actually right.
Correct, yeah.
That actually are correct, and you're like, wow, okay, he or she said it was going to rain at 1 o'clock, and it's raining, and they said it'd be gone by 2, and it's gone.
This will air, I think, next week.
Okay,
so
okay.
We're good. And I'm going to ask a question I know Kathy's not going to like. What do you think of AI?
Oh, gosh, good question. I can tell you that...
How would I not like that? I can see Rob as an AI guy doing the weather.
I know you don't like using it.
No, I don't. Well, I just like people, so...
And I like people too, and I'm hoping that our business will continue to have that people element to it. But they've done some research. Last year, the hurricane season, the Google AI model actually outperformed the European model and the GFS. Wow. So
that's kind of scary. Right?
It is a little scary, and I think that's the future. And we can't ignore the fact that in some businesses and some walks of life, that's going to become the norm. I don't think it would be in our business, just because I think you still need that human element telling the story. But the AI models are going to help us tell the story. Right. They're going to help us gather information and confidence that we need. I know that, when looking at a hurricane and we've got all these models that we're running at different times of the day, and the closer they get together, the more confident you can be, hey, all these are lining up that this is going to impact us or not impact us.
Right.
So I think that's something that, we've got to keep watch on.
I think you're always going to need a human element for that.
I
to
hope
have
so.
the empathy and share the urgency and the stress, the importance of.
And I've been lucky enough to be here a while, and I have people coming up to me and say, Rob, we can hear it in your voice, we can see it in your eyes. So it's almost like they know when they need to take something more seriously, and they know that, okay, I think he feels pretty good about this. And I when I tell people, when I'm on TV and I'm telling you information that maybe, something might be fairly impactful, I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to me too, because I have family here. I have a house. My kids have houses, all those things. So I'm not going to say anything that would be too far out there, knowing that might cause some concern and maybe some, unwarranted concern. I'm just telling you exactly what I'm telling myself.
That's awesome. All right, so creating your daily forecast, without getting into too much detail about,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. What goes into that, and is there anything that the people who just view you every day might not know? Like, I love the green screen. I love walking into the studio.
See what you're wearing right now.
Exactly.
You would disappear.
You can't wear green. But that viewers might not realize goes into what you do every day for us.
Okay, I can tell you honestly that I get in work about 1 o'clock every day. Our first newscast is at 4. I don't come in at 5 minutes till 4 and look out the window and say, here's what the weather is. We have to put together, I always liken it to like a PowerPoint. We put together a PowerPoint presentation every day. What's the weather story? So we have to come in, we build the graphics that help tell the story. At the same time, we're looking at all the different data that's coming in, temperatures, forecast, clouds and rain and those kinds of things. And then we put all of this together into a forecast. But again, the graphics are a big part of this. You're not just going to see me standing there for 3 minutes.
Smiley faces,
right,
and all that stuff.
So that takes a while to put those graphics together. And then I've always adopted something. I've worked under some really wonderful chief meteorologists, and climatology is a big thing I love to do. And, everybody likes to know, how do you compare to normal? How are we based on what else has happened around us? So climatology, yes, we're below normal in rainfall. We're above normal in temperatures. This is the second driest April on record. Second driest March was last month. So those kinds of things to keep me interested, and I hope they keep the viewers interested. But it's just another way to kind of relay the weather story.
That's awesome. Like I said, I watch the weather every single morning. Sometimes at night before I go to bed, but definitely every morning. Let's talk about the elephant too in the room here, right?
I thought you meant the real elephant
that
we had
at
Channel 2.
No. Hurricane season. Now,
Yes.
did I read that it was supposed to be quieter than normal, or did we just all jinx it?
Yeah, I hope
It was
not.
quiet last year.
It was quiet last year.
Yes.
Remember,
Where's the wood?
We had all those storms that turned, and we had a number of storms, but nothing really impacted us. So we were very lucky.
June 1st, right?
June 1st is the beginning of hurricane
it's not
season.
that far away, kids.
Yeah, so.
And some of the earlier forecasts, yes, are coming out is probably lower than average. Average now is 14 named storms. That means tropical storms at least 39 miles an hour, 7 hurricanes at least 74, generally 75. And then the major hurricanes are greater than 110, and we're expecting maybe 3 of those. So 14, 7, and 3 is what.
When we say we mean the world, right?
Yeah, not we,
not
as
us.
as in Charleston. One thing we can't forecast are landfalls. What we can look at, but there's a global element to this, and that is what's called El Nino. El Nino is a periodic warming of the waters off the coast of South America, and those upper level winds, because of the warm water, change things a little bit, and they create very hostile winds that blow across North America all the way to Africa that inhibit tropical storm growth. Tropical storms and hurricanes have to grow vertically, and if you can cut that off by having strong winds that shear or tear them apart, that doesn't allow them to grow and vent and get stronger. So the El Nino, we think, is going to be pretty strong. But having said that, there's always great examples like 1992. That year we only had 7 storms, but it was the same year we had Hurricane Andrew. And there have only been 4 Category 5 hurricanes in our history that have made landfall as a Category 5 in the United States. Labor Day storm of 1935, Hurricane Camille in 1969, Hurricane Andrew in 1992, and most recently Hurricane Michael over in 2018. So that was the year that we had Hurricane Andrew. So I'm sure for the folks in South Florida and eventually Louisiana, in their mind, it wasn't a below average year because they have benchmark storms that they can, relay or rely on terms of information.
Mm-hmm. And what scares me is just like you just don't know.
You don't know?
I love listening. Well, we're just it's still a few days out. We got to see which way it turns, and I'm like, turn!
I know.
Everyone's just yelling at their TVs, turn!
Yeah, we're all glued to whatever device we're tuned into and just
and you guys
waiting.
and you guys were we were talking
we
about
also have to be prepared.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's
Rob to talk about
that was my
Yes.
next question. I want to make sure that you go over like what
For all
everybody
all the
in
new
this
people
town
in the area who just moved here.
needs to have prepared.
We always say get the kits ready early.
Yeah.
Don't wait
no
till the
reason
last.
not to.
Yeah, you can put them in your garage, put them in a bucket. You've got batteries, you've got milk or water, you've got non-perishable items, you've got batteries, you've got keep in mind now you're not going to be able to open cans because we won't have electricity potentially. So you got to have those, can openers that open without having electricity. Mm-hmm. So there's so many things that you can do. Know where you're going to go if you have to leave. And we understand this is a hard subject that we always say, okay, evacuate, go somewhere. Well, not everybody has the resources to just up and leave and go and get a hotel room for a week or whatever. So we have to remember that, we've got to make sure that everybody's informed and staying protected wherever they may be, depending on what the storm is, whether it's going to be a big hurricane or a little tropical storm that might come in a different time at a different area. And that can also have implications in what the forecast is going to be.
Right.
Is it a full moon? Is it a new moon? Is it the moon at perigee, where it's close in its orbit around the Earth, so the tide is going to be higher? All those things go into our thought process when we're talking about a landfalling storm.
Mm-hmm. And everyone keeps saying about not when, not if,
not a matter of
when.
if, it's a matter of when.
I mean, is that? what meteorologists think, or is that just us doomsdayers?
No, I think that's legit. When I got here in 1987.
Can we wait 100 years?
Yes.
Please, another 100 years.
The storms that people asked me about were Hurricane Hazel in 1954 and Hurricane Gracie in 1959. So when I would go do a school visit or a church group talk, they were asking me about those. This is before Hugo ever happened. Well, now you don't hear about Hazel or Gracie too many times because you hear about Hugo. So there had been 30 years between Gracie and Hugo when I got here in terms of a big hurricane impacting us. So hopefully we'll continue that. But, the average return of a major hurricane along the South Carolina coast is about 22 years. And we're coming up on 37. Yeah.
Yeah. Does the things that you talk about weather-wise, does that include earthquakes too?
Meteorology is the study of the atmosphere. That's what's going on above us. Okay. That's a whole other science, seismology, that deals with earthquakes. But as an earth scientist, I guess in a way, you still need to know what's going on there. But that's what's happening under the ground. Those are very hard to predict. Those swarms of recent days that we've had,
that's what I was bringing up.
There's two schools of thought. Some feel like, okay, those are good because they're releasing the energy, preventing a big one. And then some people believe, no, this is just a precursor, a sign of the big one.
Because we aren't we on a fault line?
We're on a fault line, and we did have a big earthquake back in 1886. So the history is there. And I know that's a long time ago, but one thing that we do a lot of when you're dealing with hurricane forecasting, especially sometimes even during hurricane whatever it might be, is you look at climatology. What's happened in the past, and if a certain storm was in this certain area many years ago, and here's the solution in that storm, we use that information as history to say, hey, this could happen again,
right? Because
the patterns are the same, and certainly here was the outcome, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it might be.
That's so interesting to me.
It is. That's one of the models that we run is a climatology model that looks at past storms and says, this is how they reacted. Is this going to react the same way?
Well, I got to tell you, and I've told Amanda this before too, I think. I mean, I've been here 10 years. I moved here from New York. Hurricanes scare the bejesus out of me. I can sit through a blizzard or whatever, and I'll tell you why. It's because when you're in a blizzard, you're home. Mostly home,
right?
Safe with the fireplace going. You're not going anywhere. There's no, a tree could fall. But I also lived on Long Island during Superstorm Sandy, and that was terrifying. We lost power for 10 days, and we didn't even have a flood. It was just tree damage. But that was a terrifying time. When I hear a hurricane, I am one of those people, and my husband just makes fun of me, and I just stand there and I go, I can't. I shut all the windows, the blind.
Well, everything you said is valid because I had a chance to fly into Hurricane Sandy. So I was in the Hurricane Hunter, and I remember at that time it had morphed. It wasn't really a hurricane. You mentioned the superstorm, but the wind field had spread out to basically 1,000 miles in diameter. So all the science officers on board the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, they were discussing, they said, this is going to be a storm to be talked about for many, many years to come because of the expanse of the wind field, which ultimately caused water levels to rise. So being in that storm, I get goosebumps because I remember how just amazing it was, number one, to be flying inside of a hurricane, right, and number two, to realize that the impacts that people were going to feel, and you felt right, them, were going to be so wide-reaching.
And to think about now, I'm going to say the last thing about Hugo, then we're going to have some fun. We're going to start fun stuff. But this is really important to anyone, especially people who've just moved here. The difference in the amount of the population in this area from when Hugo hit is astronomical.
It is. When I moved here,
I mean, that's got to be very concerning.
Evacuating
yes,
back then
Floyd
and during Floyd when I was in college. I just can't imagine what it's going to be like.
Well, let me tell you, when I moved here in '87, Snee Farm was the country. If you live north of Snee Farm, people ask you, why do you live in the country? There were 15,000 people in Mount Pleasant. Now, the one point that we try to drive home about Hugo is Hugo was a Category 4 hurricane. But Hugo was only a Category 4 hurricane for a small part of the area. That was up in the forest. That was Cape Romaine. That was Bulls Bay. That was McClellanville. For Charleston, Somerville, James Island, Isle of Palms, it was only a Category 2. The highest winds at the Custom House downtown were recorded 100 miles an hour. That's a Cat 2. So what I try to tell people is let's take Hugo, the center, instead of the Charleston Harbor, let's move it to Edisto. Now you're bringing down the coast the 175 mile per hour wind gust, the 22-foot storm surge they saw in McClellanville. Now you're moving all that down into the population center. So really, in a strange way, where Hugo hit along the coast of South Carolina was probably the best place for it to go because it hit an area that was not very well populated at that time.
Now you can't get away from the people.
No. So we always tell people, and hey, everybody wants to say I went through the worst of whatever, and a lot of people, I'm not going to downplay Hugo because it was something tremendous in terms of the impact that it felt, and still to this day people talk about it like it was yesterday, and I do too. But there's going to be another storm somewhere down the road that could maybe have more impacts than Hugo because it may come in at a different time in a different place.
All right, now I need to make people laugh.
Before you get to your questions, Kathy, you might not know the lore of Rob Fowler's mustache.
I'm sorry?
See, she doesn't.
No.
So when I got here, I had a mustache. I've had a mustache since, when you're 13 or 14, you think you have a mustache and you really don't, But I go all the way back to those days, and I had a mustache. And so in 2007, Tom Selleck shaved his mustache. Alex Trebek shaved his mustache. I'm not putting me on that level, but we have consultants, and they came and said, Rob, mustaches are kind of out, now they're not in like they used to be. Would you be willing to shave your mustache? And at first I thought about it. I'm like, if we can raise money for a charity, I'll do it. So we raised money for the Cancer Society, I think about $5,000. I shaved it live on TV
amazing.
At West Ashley High School during a Relay for Life event for the American Cancer Society. Nick Collins, love you, Nick. Nick still cuts my hair to this day, and he did it live on the air, and he was shaking. His hands were shaking. I said, Nick, please don't cut me live on the air.
Stop shaking.
So anyway, I shaved it off, and I said, okay, I'll keep it off. Well, I went into the Boulevard Diner. Remember the Boulevard Diner? I miss it so much. And Thomas McElwee was working there, and he was a member of this group of guys that were forming a band, but they didn't have a name. So he saw me, and he told me the story later on. He called me at Channel 2 later on and said, Mr. Fowler, you came into the restaurant. I missed the mustache. Do you mind if we call our band Fowler's Mustache? And I said, cool. How cool is that? So now a lot of them, they're older, they have kids, but they're the greatest group of guys, and they still play around town. But yes, people come up to me all the time and say, do you know there's a band named after your mustache? And I'm like, yeah, I've heard a rumor. So I've introduced them at some of their gigs, and it's an honor to be. The mustache lives on, I guess.
Well, it's funny you say that too,
story.
Because my husband, when I met him, he had a mustache. He had a mustache when his kids were born 15 years before that. And then when we got married with his mustache, and then all of a sudden I come home one day and it's gone. I looked at him, I go, I don't even know who you are.
Was it around the same time period?
It could, 2003-ish.
Okay, so a little bit earlier.
Yeah. I didn't recognize him when I came home.
My wife didn't. My kids were
and he's never grown it back either. But now we look at him and go, "Oh my God, how did you get married with that mustache on your face?"
And yes, and we were doing Movember for a little while, and people said, it's just like, putting fertilizer. It just grows like that,
It's so funny.
Now it would come back in different colors.
And I'm not saying anything about mustaches because I actually do like them. But his was like that. His was like that big, bushy one that was like.
And I had the same one.
Very Tom Selleck, like you said.
I'm still a big fan of mustaches. Probably will keep mine off, though.
That's so funny.
And thanks for all you do. For
I know, for everything. It's
the community, the nonprofits. And
listen, the community's done so much for us. If I can give back just a little bit, that's more for me, just because they've been so great to me.
I just want to know if you've ever gotten a forecast completely wrong.
Oh, gosh, yes. Many, many times. I remember, it's interesting. I've worked at all these TV stations. I've never had a window in any weather office I've worked in. Isn't that funny?
Okay, can't really see it.
So there was a time where we have to remember that we get winds from the ocean. It was a beautiful day. I go on the air talking about what a beautiful day it's been. Had not been outside in a while, but there was a storm that was forming in the ocean, and the wind shifted and brought it right on shore. And I want to tell you what, it looked like the world was coming to an end. And a guy called me and he said, have you looked outside? And I'm like, no, he's not what you said on TV. But probably the funniest thing, so there was one Friday night I was on TV saying it was going to be a terrible Saturday. It was going to be raining and a big storm. And so I had my daughter Kylie. She was probably 3 or something at the time, and she was with me, and we went to the mall. Well, it turned out to be a beautiful day. It couldn't have been sunnier. The sky couldn't have been bluer. We blew it big time. This storm didn't materialize. Well, immediately we get in the mall. This guy comes up. He recognizes me, an older gentleman. He said, I'm pointing his finger at me. I'm so mad at you. My wife dragged me to the mall because you said it was going to be a bad day. I should be in my garden working. I've got so much to do. He was so upset, and boy, he was reading me the riot act. And I was just kind of sitting there, yes, sir, I'm sorry. Well, my daughter Kylie, without missing a beat, looked up and said, sir, God makes the weather. My daddy just tells people about it. So, and needless to say, he stopped dead in his tracks.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I looked, I said, where'd that come from? Because we had never really discussed that, but she had picked up on that, and she was my saving grace. It worked when she was 3. I don't think it'll work when she's 34.
Well,
but,
I don't know. It might. It might. Oh, that's hysterical.
But yes, we've missed a few, but more times than not, there's a good reason that something just didn't materialize. And hopefully it's not a situation where we missed it and it turned out to be a major severe weather outbreak.
That's awesome. All right, we got some fun, a couple more fun questions, then we'll let you go, okay? What is something that's happened on live TV that viewers didn't see?
Oh, gosh. There are so many things that happen behind the scenes. Carolyn Murray is...
she's a riot.
I call her my sister because and she will try to crack you up, and she's making faces.
We've had her on the podcast.
Yes.
She's been on here before.
Oh, she is. And Brendan, I mean, the two of them are just making each other laugh for whatever reason. Probably, people in the studio just kind of totally oblivious, just walking through and they're on camera and they don't realize that they're on camera.
You did that, Amanda?
Yeah, at another studio local here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, the cameras you got to assume they're live all the time. And of course the microphones, we hope nobody's saying any dirty words or anything, but sometimes you'll hear us in a conversation and then all of a sudden you come back on and you can hear like a little bit and piece of probably my most embarrassing moment, though, you did see on TV. When I was in Savannah, we had to set up a magnetic board. So we had a magnetic map of South Carolina and Georgia and the United States, but we had to take magnets like a cloud magnet and a sun magnet, and the cold fronts were those little blue triangles you connected to make a long cold front. And so, magnets, just like on your refrigerator, you put papers under them, and after a while, that magnetic field's going to weaken. Well, we had some old magnets, so I set this whole thing up, and then I went to the board live on TV, and I kind of tapped the board and said, here, we're going to have some thunderstorms. Half those magnets came crashing to the ground live on TV. I thought I was going to be fired because I was pretty new, and everybody just laughed. But, yeah,
Now it would be a blooper on the Weather Channel.
That would be a blooper. That was before YouTube, thank goodness,
All right. Do your friends and family blame you personally when the forecast misses?
It's funny because my wife is, our first house, it was in Chelsea Park and it had skylights. So we would be laying in bed. Let's say it's a Saturday morning and I predicted it was going to be a nice day. And all of a sudden you hear the rain on the skylight. She goes, honey, didn't you say it was going to be nice today? So she's the first one to kind of call me out about a forecast. But no, they're really good. They call me a lot. My kids are all interested in what the weather is going to be, and now their friends are texting them to find out what the weather is going to be. Ask your dad, is it going to be raining or storming for this wedding or whatever it might be, or we want to all go out boating. And I love the fact that my oldest grandson, Ro, he's starting to pick up on what I do, and so he's telling everybody that his papa's the weatherman. So they're asking him weather questions, and he's good too. They're all my kids. They've been like all the older grandkids. They've been the weather watcher at their school, and so my daughter-in-law will always send me a picture of them next to their weather board. And so it awesome. Makes me proud as a papa. And
then now, can you get out of Harris Teeter without someone asking you about the weather?
That's always a running joke.
Do you even go to Harris Teeter?
I do. I love Harris Teeter.
I picked one of the grocery stores.
I love Town Center. We love Town Center. No, but there's a running joke in my family, just like, okay, we're just going to go to the car and Dad will get there when Dad gets there. Because I usually get trapped, and trapped is not the right word because I really enjoy conversation.
You seem like the type of person that actually enjoys speaking with
I do.
Right?
I really do, and I encourage people to come up. I would much rather them come up and say hello. And ask me if they have a question to ask me. If they have a comment, we'll take the comments too. Obviously we're not perfect. We can do some things differently in TV, and I welcome any comments, whether they're a complaint or constructive criticism. I'm all over that. There was one of my granddaughters got baptized at St. Andrews, and we had to get to the house for the party. Well, there was this wonderful family, and their daughter had dressed up as me for Halloween.
Without a mustache.
Without a mustache. And had the little microphone and the little Rob Fowler name tag. I thought it was so cute. And they had sent me the picture, but I'd never met them in person. Well, so we're coming out, and they go to St. Andrews, and they come running. And they had the little girl, too. Said, we want to get a picture with you. And we did this. Well, my wife heard that. She goes, I'll meet you in the car. So, and took a picture, had a great little conversation. And then we were on the way back to the house for the party.
That's amazing. All right, so beach day or cozy stormy day?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. Which do I prefer?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because I think they're both kind of awesome. So.
Yeah, I love the beach, but there's nothing like if you've had a long week at work and it's storming and it's a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, you just kind of cozy up. And I think we have less of those, so I'll take the cozy stormy day.
What about our extreme heat or that freezing cold we had last winter?
I am not a cold weather fan, even though I spent 2 years in Wisconsin. I'll take the heat any day of the week. I don't mind. I just can't get warm when it gets cold.
I see. I'm the opposite. I cannot get cool when I'm hot. When it's like 105 out, I can't.
And I'm not going to complain about 105.
No, I know.
Yeah. I'm going to complain about the snow and the ice.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, once you're cold, that's tough.
It was very cold.
Yes.
Everyone's electric bills this past. I didn't want to get into that. That's a whole nother podcast.
You bring Dominion Energy for that one.
Yeah, exactly. One more. What's your favorite weather word?
Oh gosh, favorite weather word. Sunny. That good?
Oh, I forgot to ask
Warm?
you about, since we're on the Chamber of Commerce podcast,
yes.
Tell me what Chamber of Commerce Weather Day means.
Oh, that would be probably my favorite.
You say it a lot.
Yes, Chamber of Commerce. So, and this is a personal thing. My favorite months of the year are April and October. And the reason for that is the highs average about 75, lows average 55. So basically a little cool in the morning, but nice and comfortable, not too hot, not too cold in the afternoon. So I think based on the time of the year, I would say that those are Chamber of Commerce days, which means you can get out, you've got great weather to enjoy all of that we have to offer. And the Chamber of Commerce is loving it because people are coming because of that reason, and they're getting out.
Well, that's how I feel about Town Center too. When it's a bad storm, I go, oh well, the stores aren't going to be happy today.
But I'll say this: you're sitting right here, but when we have visitors that come and we take them to Town Center, they're like, "This is like the coolest," because not too many places have this big, giant, open air shopping area, and you guys do so much other stuff that adds value to it by coming in and seeing the art fest and all those kinds of things too. So,
well, thank you, Rob. This isn't even about me, but thank you.
They all our friends are like, this is like the coolest.
That's so awesome. I love listening about the weather. I really do. It's like a little private fascination of mine. And I'm a huge fan of yours, and you've been such an amazing part of this community for such a long time. And I know you're so busy, so I know Amanda and I both appreciate you taking the time to be with us today.
Well, I wouldn't miss it. This has been fun.
And remind our listeners exactly where they can find you and what channels, all that, please.
Yeah, I'm on Channel 2, and we also on the CW, so we do newscasts. But I think, Rob Fowler Storm Team 2 is my Facebook, and that's my Instagram, and I do a lot of updating, especially during hurricane season. And I try to ask people to share the message we're trying to send out so we can have a united message. So
and download the Storm Team 2 weather app.
Yep, I got it right here.
I have it on my phone. That's what I check every morning.
Download that app and follow along with us.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
when are you on Channel 2?
I'm on 4, 5, 6, 10, and 11. And Monday through Friday. Don't work too many weekends unless there's something going on. But yeah, Monday through Friday, I'm there.
Let your successor handle that.
Yeah.
Enjoy the grandkids on the weekends.
Yes, absolutely.
Rob, thank you so much for being here today. We really
Thank
appreciate
you so much,
it.
Rob.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been great, hasn't it? Before we leave, I need to once again thank our sponsor, Viking Mergers and Acquisitions. You can visit them at vikingmergers.com. And, of course, our incredible recording partner, Charleston Media Solutions. Thank you guys so much. They're so good to us at the Mount Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. We do have other sponsorships available if anyone's interested.
Right.
And, of course, if you would like to inquire about being a guest on our show, you can reach out to Rebecca or JD at the Chamber.
Or Amanda.
Oh, and
Or
Amanda.
Amanda.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry, Amanda. I
okay.
forgot.
They can reach out to me. And
Amanda's
I'll
only
get them
been,
to you guys.
she's been here about 3
Somebody.
weeks, so I
We'll
forgot
get
about
back
that
to you.
already. But again, we really appreciate it. Make sure you check out all of our media channels, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So thank you again for being with us today. Until next time, Mount Pleasant. Until next time, listeners.